Hi, it's Hailey Gonzalez. This is my Essay 3 video presentation, and the title of my essay is ADHD and All Its Unnecessary Struggles. My introduction is ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. This disorder affects 9.4% of the children in the United States alone.
A behavioral disorder that mainly is diagnosed at a young age, between the age of 3 and 6 years old. Most of the symptoms are very apparent that most parents themselves and educators who are in daily access to this child will notice the symptoms. Symptoms are persistent patterns of impulsiveness and tentativeness, and sometimes hyperactivity, and which interferes with their academic learning abilities. And it also just affects their abilities to function well at home with other siblings and with the parents themselves, and or in any other sports activities with other children that are involved. This disorder itself has been the lead in controversy itself, mainly because a lot of healthcare professionals and educational professionals do not know what to label or classify ADHD as, whether it is a learning disability or is it an actual mental illness. It's pretty much split half and half between both healthcare providers and doctors and the other professionals who have studied and do study ADHD. Most of them say yes, it is a mental illness. The other half say no, it is a cognitive behavior disorder, which it focuses in the education world, which would be the teacher's responsibilities and educators' responsibilities to help diagnose and treat and maintain the symptoms of ADHD. As of 2016, this disorder has already affected 6.1 million children. And this is in 2016. So as of 2020, they have not released new surveys or updates quite yet. But this is a 10% increase within the past 20 years, which is very abnormal for this disorder, which has already been around for decades, that has already been having decades of research and treatments with it as well. The only problem with those is that since it's not specified exactly whether it is a mental disorder or is it an educational learning disability. The reason why there's also been a big spike in diagnosis of ADHD within children is because of, or what they call the Affordable Care Act, ACA. This allows every person in the United States who has no opportunity to get health insurance through employment or lack of employment, then has the ability to get government-assisted insurance and health care. Through this government-assisted health care and insurance, it provides treatment options as well as payment for treatment medications, which means it covers any medications such as the stimulants and non-stimulants to help manage. It helps provide treatment and medication affordability to the children who didn't have that opportunity before the CARE Act was passed. With the CARE Act being passed means every child now has the ability to get tested and to try to figure out if they have ADHD, and if they do have ADHD, which types of ADHD do they have, which I will later get into in a minute. Unfortunately, with ADHD disorder, there is no simple one test to give a child to test to see if they do have ADHD. It is a process of elimination through discovering whether or not they have symptoms to relate to a different disorder, whether it be Tourette's disorder or autism. It's about the process of eliminating that they don't have signs that lead to that, and if those signs don't lead to other disorders, then they classify it as ADHD, which leaves the opportunity to have a lot of misdiagnosis and can have overdiagnosis of ADHD, which then we're treating those kids who are being misdiagnosed with Adderall, Ritalin, which are your stimulants and non-stimulant medications. The symptoms to look out for mainly are difficult doing quiet tasks. Being able to sit down and read a book within a class that is already quietly reading, they cannot manage to do this for longer than mostly 2 minutes at a time. They end up getting distracted, tapping a pencil, clicking a pen, talking, whispering to their neighbor. Other ones are remembering simple instructions. They constantly are going back to the instructor asking, what did you say again? What do I need to do? Not understanding the comprehending simple tasks as well. And not being able to quickly develop and process ideas as their peers around them. When the peers in their class are able to understand simple mathematic equations and they're not, that obviously shows signs of a disorder, of lack of ability to understand and comprehend what they should be able to at this age group. The extensive controversy surrounding ADHD seems to be never ending. It's been happening since the 90s, early 90s, when ADHD was becoming a popular diagnosis. Mainly because a large amount of professionals believe that many normal people have ADHD, and it's just not as immediately noticeable. Most of normal people who have ADHD have difficulty sitting still or not being able to stop tapping their pen or pencil, which eventually they'll be able to stop. That's just showing signs of simple ADHD in normal people. The main part of ADHD is the major impairments that places on individuals with ADHD. Those are something that people with ADHD cannot get through. They cannot get through a test without looking 10 times around at what student's getting at, or they can't sit in the classroom with a class pet in the room because their focus is going to be on the pet, especially if their ADHD is not being treated. If their ADHD is not being treated properly, whether it be behavioral management, class therapies, side tutors, and parenting skills, which is parents teaching coping skills to their children with ADHD and how to manage their own symptoms throughout their life and day in class. When students don't have those resources available and taught to them, then those are what holds them back educationally and sets them up for failure into their adulthood. Also shines a light in Essay 3 that I put in is what it's like to live with and raise a child with ADHD. Many people don't even consider what it'd be like to have a sibling and live and grow up with a sibling with ADHD, which is a very lost subject in this. It is very important to also include the family members surrounding the child with ADHD, because they're just as greatly affected by this child and their sibling's disorder by the way their temper tantrums are being thrown to the other siblings and the way they're treating their other siblings in the house, which can cause high stress within the family if the child with ADHD is not being nice and respectful of their sibling and their siblings' belongings. And when that is arising, it causes high stress and multiple problems arise within the family's relationships, between the parents' relationship and the siblings themselves, which ultimately can cause and lead to family separations and family problems that the child then with ADHD later in his life feels as if it's their fault and their blame for their family's rough times and rough patches. The new direction for ADHD would be defining medically what exactly attention deficit hyperactivity disorder really is. And when you medically classify this disorder, it then allows researchers and other advocates who've already been doing research on this disorder more ability and guidelines to how to take the next step with their research. It also offers the ability to get grant money from the government to then also fund resources to better set up treatment plans, medication options, and better develop a possible cure for ADHD, and if not cure, a better way to manage the symptoms for each child individually. The way we do this is by developing an actual test. Since there is no one single test to test a child for ADHD, then there is a way we can use other tests, the other tests that we use to test disorders, such as sleep apnea and sleep disorders. We test sleep apnea and sleep disorders by taking that person and putting them into their room and watching them sleep over a course of a week or months at a time. Obviously, we can't take a child from their family for days or weeks at a time, but what you do is set up during a summer or through a month of time, during break time, that this child will be able to have the ability to go into this facility with other children who do not show symptoms or have systematic ADHD disorder within them, and you put in an instructor who is specialized in ADHD to work with them and to show and test simple tasks. Are they able to do these simple tasks? If they aren't, what is stopping them? What is causing them to hesitate and distracting them? And by that, you're able to truly determine whether the child has ADHD without playing the guessing game of, oh, well, they don't have Tourette's, they don't have autism, they're not on the spectrum of any other disorder, so let's specify it as ADHD. The bad thing we do is not encourage parents to medicate their child, but ensure them that medicating their child has less side effects medically than it does when you leave your child untreated. Leaving a child untreated with ADHD opens the door for a lifetime of serious consequences that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Most examples that I read about were impulsive decisions. Children with ADHD who are not being treated or medicated or taught how to handle and control their impulse disorder with ADHD often choose to drink and drive, often choose to try illegal substances and be encouraged by peer pressure around them to do things that they know are reckless and or illegal to participate in. So medicating and teaching and developing coping skills to better provide that child with ADHD success is greater than leaving it untreated. The 3 types of ADHD that I didn't get into earlier are the inattentive, which is trouble focusing and following instructions and finishing tasks. The second one is hyperactive impulsive, which is constantly on the go, talking excessively and interrupting others and having, like I said, that lack of ability to control their impulses and emotions. The third one is combined, which is both inattentive and hyperactive impulsive together, which is very severe case of ADHD, which is mainly what we are trying to help and better supply a new treatment in that ADHD type. In my essay 3, I have found in my articles the prevalence was used quite a bit. I didn't at first know what that meant, so of course I Googled it. And I wanted to supply the definition for y'all, the class who will be reading my essay, and as well as you, Ms. Donor, to understand that prevalence is the proportion of persons in a population who have a particular disease or attribute to a specified point or period in time, which means that this group of people that they're speaking to about are the people who have ADHD. And from now on, it should help get through my essay. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, and bye.